And welcome back to the IWAR Network Tubecast. I'm your host, Alex G. With me, as always, IWAR Commissioner, CWL Commissioner, Mr. Anderson, BRL, NWL Commissioner, Matt Riley. How you guys doing this evening?
Excellent, thank you.
I think it's great that the IWAR Commissioner is on the show with us.
It is nice. Apparently, it has not been made known to some people that the IWAR Commissioner is now a different person. So
it's not a work.
Just it is not a work. That it is for real. Like, that's why it's different in the bulletin.
Plus
that is correct.
So this episode will be the March 2019 cycle in review. But first, we're going to start with some listener questions. So Matt, what are some of the listener questions that we have for this evening?
Well, some of our questions include, let's see here. Should there be a league with a star limitation, i.e. when a wrestler reaches a certain number of stars, he or she must transfer out?
No.
No, and I understand the idea. I could see a league on the other way that you have to have so many stars earned to get into a league.
Well, I think the concept is to make a league that has, lesser competition by limiting the stars, which I kind of do understand, especially if you're coming out of the NWL or you're a player that's still trying to figure out the game. But unfortunately, what would happen is that as soon as it gets known IWA wide, that guys who are really good are just going to create new wrestlers to join this league and beat the shit out of you.
That's right.
So if say there's a 20 star limit, I can just go create a new wrestler and then join the league and mop the floor with everybody. So
to give you an idea of sort of
not like, you.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, not me personally, but
right. Ding dong. Excuse me, but back to the IWA. I was going to say, just to give you perspective on earning stars, I track that in the BRL every year, and the most anyone's ever earned in 1 year were 10, and 4 different wrestlers have done that. So, and that's like an exception to the rule, not the average. Most people don't earn 10 stars in a year.
Oh.
Usually it's around like 4 to 6. So I would say, the NWL, we have our limits in place, so you're only going to earn so many stars. I could probably at some point when I have extra time find out what the most stars ever earned in the NWL were.
Probably Ricky Kyle.
Yeah. Him or Koenig or Great Gig. Those guys have a lot of titles, so probably
Jack Havoc from back in the day.
Yeah, Jack Havoc was their force.
Yeah.
Which brings up a teaser point for later on in the show when I have a special NWL announcement. Here's a question. Why do tag team and six-man championships not earn points for each individual involved towards the singles rankings? Well, from my point of view, those aren't singles titles, so that's why they don't count towards singles titles points. That's just me.
Makes sense.
I know some leagues have done that.
Right. I do see an occasional league that track all of a single wrestler's points from all the titles. I don't do that. I don't do that myself either. I think that there's a separate scoring for singles titles, a separate scoring for tag, and a separate scoring for six-man. That's just how I see it. I see those all as separate, what would you say, separate categories.
Yes.
So I don't want to combine those myself. That's how I see it.
Right. And I know, like, for a few years in the BRL, we had a system like that. And what I actually did when I went back through the BRL all the years and I kind of put in the current scoring for everything, it did change some of the winners. Because, for example, in 94, Dick Jackson, the scoring was set up that way, and he was Wrestle of the Year. But when I did it the current way, it went to the Terminator because he had the most singles points overall. So Dick Jackson may have had more tag team and six-man reigns with various partners, but overall he didn't have as good a year in a singles competition. So it's just, think of it sort of like, I guess, batting and pitching, like they're different things. It's just,
If we didn't do like tag team of the year and six-man of the year, then I could see it. But since we have those awards anyway, it doesn't make a difference.
Yeah, so that kind of is that one in a nutshell. One question from Catfish Rob. Asking about a player possibly stepping away from the game. One of the players, Brian Crawford in the BRL, is going to be leaving the game for reasons outside the game. So his stable International House of Pain, or IHOP, will be departing in the next couple of cycles. He's in the process of trying to get one of his wrestlers into the Hall of Fame. So once he does that, if you, this kind of brings up a secondary point, if you ever want to contact a wrestler in the game and you don't know how to contact them, always ask one of us. Not everyone knows as well. One of the best ways to contact somebody if you don't have internet or whatever it may be, or Facebook, is you can do for $1. For just $1, the IWA will let you send a buddy email, and you send the email to the IWA, the letter to the IWA, and they will forward it on to the party you want to get it to. There's a couple players that still do this. Every so often I get,
I've gotten them in the past.
Yeah, and it's from players, because believe it or not everybody's either on YouTube, internet, or Facebook, or what have you. So we try to accommodate as many possible ways as we can.
I don't trust people who don't have a social media presence.
I can understand that.
I find them untrustworthy.
Other questions. We do have compliments. They love our show and try to catch most of the great ones. Let's see here. I will say this, as far as Q&A goes. Last time we asked a question for the trivia question of the night, or the show, and it was which BRL wrestler had won the UWL previously, before El Barbero. And some of you chimed in. You guys know who it is, right?
I feel like I knew the answer, yeah.
Well, then you can offer it up if you like.
Well, I'm pretty sure he commented. I thought it was Catfish Rob.
That's correct. Catfish Rob's Jane the Vixen Red previously won it. So that gives the BRL 2 wrestlers that I know have won the UWL. Don't know if Sir Gunther Kinderwart won it one year. He may have, but I think I would have heard more about it if he did. Because, Mark's usually not shy about sharing his successes. I'm sure he'll let us know. So that was all the Q&A I got. Let me check the message thread from the Rooks and see here. This gave me a bunch of spoilers for SmackDown. Thanks, guys. You bastards. Well, you don't have to watch that. Well, I will bring up this episode's question. Who was the first BRL wrestler to win the American Championship? Have fun tracking that one down. And put it in the comments below the video. Below the video, not on the Facebook page. Like the video.
Are employees of the IWAR not allowed to answer?
Yeah, probably not.
Probably not. I could probably.
Employees, you guys are getting paid?
No,
let me find
out. This is non-profit. This is volunteer basis.
No, you get to pay to do it. I don't know what it's called, but.
Well, I know what that's called, but I can't say it on the air.
I know the answer anyways, but I just wanted to throw that out there while we're talking about Q&A. And again, if you have questions, feel free to post them. We don't mind getting questions. We like them. I would ask one important thing. Before you ask a question, please, 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 Alex.
Make sure you read the bulletins. Make sure you read IWA Ringside Magazine, because 9 out of 10 answers of your questions will be in there.
Damn right. Things like, how do I challenge for this title? I want to compete for this title. I want to do this. I want to enter this event. Which brings up a little side note, not much a question, but as a reminder, when it comes to entering events, I am no longer the IWAR commissioner.
As previously stated.
As previously stated. Just a reminder. Don't come to me with complaints or gripes or whatever. I've left the building.
And make sure you enter in your entries on time, not 3 cycles after the event starts.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would say we didn't have anybody try and enter after. I did have people, persons, try and change their entries after the event has started.
Oh, my wrestler got 501. Can I change him?
That's.
I'm gonna for the Johnny B.
Here's a sort of incremental or coincidental Q&A. The question being, when do I have to have my gold material into the IWA? The answer is Monday morning before the deadline. So if it posts on Tuesday and you wait till Tuesday morning to send your matches and strats and trash talk, the odds are very high that you won't get them in. And the dirty secret here is the IWA often compiles all their results on Monday afternoon. They run all the matches. They spend Tuesday morning printing it out, packing the envelopes, PDFing everything, and getting things on their way. If you send your stuff Tuesday morning, they've already run the leagues. You know these deadlines. Please embrace them. The emailing is there as a convenience. Take advantage of it. I know I do. I send my stuff in usually Sunday morning, Sunday night, or Monday morning. But if you wait too long, you'll miss the deadline, and it's nobody's fault but Alex's.
I do mine at 4:30 in the morning on Sunday or Monday morning.
I've been there.
So
That's
that. And then we didn't contact the IWA to make sure this was something that was in place. They did this on their own. We don't care.
Yeah.
So for those those conspiracy theorists out there. So,
although I will say,
speak for yourself. I mean, I think we are the big bad wolf.
Well, I will say this.
You have the direct line to Willowwick, says Mr. Anderson. So,
well, I
tried not to talk to them.
I sent Scott Anderson the bat phone, so he has it now. It goes right to Kim's room. I will say this. As far as it being an IWAR-related thing, the Gold Fed is one of the most active, if not the most active, federation in the game. That means they have a lot of extra work to do. That's why they get a head start on Monday afternoon. So do yourself a favor, get your stuff in Monday morning.
Especially with the 86-page bulletin that the NWL had this cycle.
Yes, we'll talk about the trash talk later. Yes, we will talk about that. So that's our Q. Oh, and the final thing, I'm sorry, one more thing on Q&A. It's more about a way to help. People have said, hey, how can I help one of the players in the game? You've probably seen notice on the IWA home site about Jim Blazer, a member of the CWL roster, NWL alumni, who suffered a stroke, and he's been rehabilitating from it. There is a fundraiser page online right now. You can go to it through the IWA homepage, and if you go there and read about the Stablecade coming up, you'll notice that they have a bonus that the money from the Stablecade will go towards the fundraiser for Jim. So Jim Ripka is his real name, but we know him as Jim Blazer. And there are a number of us that know him that are going to enter Stablecade with his stable, Blazer Corp, as our initials. So hopefully we'll win for him. So if you want to get involved, feel free.
I've contributed. Have you?
I did. I did.
That was rhetorical. That wasn't at you.
Oh. I mean, I did.
I knew it was rhetorical, so I didn't answer.
Right.
Although I will say, I would love, if I was very wealthy, I would fly to his hospital and film myself challenging him to a match. Get out of that room! When you get better, I'm facing you in a cage! You're gonna get these hands!
Hams?
Get these hams.
Yums.
Get these yams. That's what we say at work.
All right, so we are going to start off with the IWL cycle number 101 league champion, strictly business, television champion, the Midnight Rider, formerly Tim Riggins III. Apparently, Tim Riggins III fell in a volcano. New York City champion, One Insider. Los Angeles champion, Christopher Destruction. Boston champion, Mr. Magnificent J. Montgomery. Detroit champion, Spike Dillinger. Cleveland champion, Johnny WrestleFast. Dallas champion, Kennedy Cage. Memphis champion, Frederick Xavier. Miami champion, Matthew Grabowski. San Francisco champion, Kenneth Oblivion. Chicago champion, Donathan Annihilation. Tag team champions, Graham Underwood and Kennedy Cage. TV Tag Team Champions, the American Savages of Hank and Buddy. Six-Man Champions, Frederick Xavier, Graham Underwood, Kennedy Cage. TV Six-Man Champions, Spike Dillinger, and the American Savages. So, Alex G., what's going down in the IWL? Well, first and foremost, I want to talk about Soul Survivor, because I want to make sure that everyone understands everything that I'm going to say right now, because not that it's overly complicated, but we have to enforce some rules that we put in place at the beginning of this year, so I just want to make sure everyone understands those things. So, first and foremost, congratulations to Graham Underwood, who not only retained the IWA World Championship, he also won Soul Survivor. So, as per our official rules, Graham Underwood does not have to defend his championship at the next pay-per-view. So, congratulations. He won a credit prize, and he also won free matches for retaining his championship.
It could not have happened to a better guy.
I hate your guts. I told you that lately. In addition to that, in terms of our Pan American Championship match, again, one of the rules that we installed earlier this year was that if you don't TT, you're not going to win your championship match. So in this case, the match was Grover Dill taking on Robbie Blood for the Pan American Championship. Robbie Blood, who has TT'd recently, I believe, 3 cycles ago or so, will be winning the Pan American Championship over Grover Dill by forfeit. So that's the way that's going to go. But I highly suggest for Robbie Blood to TT, or he will lose his championship to the next eligible contender.
Oh, my God.
In addition to that, I got to talk about the Kumite. So we have our winner of the Kumite. The winner of the Kumite is strictly business. So again, as per the rules that we installed earlier this year, if you don't TT, you don't get to earn a shot at the championship. So he does not get the championship shot at Robbie Blood for the Pan American Championship. But he does get his prize, though. So he wins the prize. 20 free matches. So Strictly Business did win the event. He is the official winner of record. He gets his 20 free matches, but the championship the championship title shot will go to the runner-up, the next runner-up who TT'd, and that will be Spike Dillinger. So Spike Dillinger will get the shot at the Pan American Championship against Robbie Blood. But if Robbie Blood does not TT, he will automatically forfeit that championship to Spike Dillinger. I hope everyone is clear on that. If you have any questions, please let me know. As a reminder, we did install these rules earlier this year for the start of the 2019 year.
So just to sum up, you're a cheating son of a bitch.
How am I cheating, son of a bitch? I didn't win dick.
Stealing title shots, denying you bastard.
It's like the BRL over here. Jesus.
I know.
Wow.
Speaking of losing championships, Aliatari was defeated by Neo Dragon. So Neo Dragon is the new Grand Prix champion. He will get to face a challenger of his choice coming up at the next pay-per-view, Wrestle Riot. In addition to that, the Chaotix did defeat Magnum Force to retain the IWC Tag Team Championship. So congratulations. So again, if you have any questions about the pay-per-view results, the pay-per-view in general, or some of the rules that I unfortunately had to enforce. I didn't want to, but I had to. I was kind of hoping this wouldn't happen, but it's kind of it is what it is, and I apologize.
You should.
I'm of the opinion, and I think you guys share the same thing. Is like there's no point having a commissioner's champion who doesn't TT because it kind of makes the belt worthless, right?
Right.
I wholeheartedly agree.
That's why it's there.
It's kind of the point. In addition to that, if you guys owe me pay-per-view matches, please get them to me as soon as possible. Please get those sooner rather than later. Again, we are doing recaps. So just match recaps. You don't have to do a whole match layout. It doesn't have to be 3 pages. Just a paragraph or 2. Make sure you get all your shit in and have a cool finish. That's all I have to say.
Okay, Rip Rogers. Get all your shit in.
He yells at me all the time on Twitter.
I read his stuff every so often. I'm like, just dude, come on. Yeah. Sorry.
That's neither here nor there. So we do have the next pay-per-view. Next pay-per-view will be a Wrestle Riot. I already created a post for that, so that's up and coming. More stuff, more tournaments will be announced shortly. Mr. Anderson, what do you got in terms of TT for the IWL?
Oh man, I get to go first. I have like 5 choices.
Well, if you want sloppy seconds, go right ahead.
I've never been one to complain, but if I had to pick one, hopefully nobody else minds or nobody else is going to do this. I have to go with. I want to talk about how I think the Three Birds are being underrated by both the Chaotix and the Regulators. And if I were the Chaotix or the Regulators, I might take notice of the Three Birds.
They're really good, and they've made a huge impact since debuting here in the IWL. So,
for sure.
Man, I dig it. All right, Matt, what do you got in terms of TT for the IWL?
Well, a quick shout out to the teasers from the Chameleon that are still coming in. So the Chameleon, the American Patriot, and the Christian Warrior are going to be arriving soon. So they've been doing some teasers, and I would encourage all NWL wrestlers, if you know where you're going, don't be afraid to send a couple teasers in and set the stage, so to speak. But my TT kind of stays in a similar vein, and it's with the Magnum TL promo and the Midnight Rider promo. Because, again, I stress, I'll talk about this later on in the show, about what you do with your TT and how you don't have to write a huge thing to make a big difference. And, boy, Magnum TL, who's had his motorcycle destroyed by the Gentleman's Club, who was beaten mercilessly by the Gentleman's Club, now is a new ally in the Midnight Rider. So the plot thickens.
Are they gonna call themselves the James Gang?
Oh no. Where's the dirty yellow dog? Wasn't that what he called himself?
No, that's Barry Windham in Florida. The James Gang was Jesse James, who I believe was a masked Magnum TA, and the Midnight Rider, which was a masked Dusty Rhodes.
Yes.
So they were the James Gang for some reason. I don't know.
Oh.
I prefer the Risky Business Boys.
And I will say, just for honesty's sake, I did not consider making a Midnight Lucha. I know it's an inside joke, but it's still good. Screw you guys. Mr. Alex G, what TT did you like?
They're all good. They're all good. You know, I got to talk about, right off the bat, the Gentleman's Club of William Worthy, Spike Dillinger, and the American Savages. Now, I think these guys are going to make a big impact. You know, Spike Dillinger is getting a shot at the Pan American Championship. American Savages, although did not win the 4-pack challenge, that went to the regulators. They came really, really close, and it was really competitive right into the last cycle. So, you know, these men are fantastic and a force to be reckoned with in the IWL.
Damn right.
Spike Dillinger knows judo.
He does.
He's a judo man.
That was his big calling card.
Okay. just wondering.
So does Ronda Rousey.
Well, you know, Luther Alexander knows judo. He was trained by Vladimir Putin as a judokan or judo player. So I can see them matching up in the future in a judo match. After that, we have the Chaotix, who accept the challenge of the regulators for Wrestle Riot 6. So, Mr. Anderson, how bad are you going to lose this match?
What is the maximum level of badness that you can lose a match?
Well, didn't we see someone get beat by like 150 points this cycle?
Happen. Say what?
Didn't someone get beat by 150 points that was active this cycle?
That was not the Chaotix, though.
Oh.
But yes, it did occur. Since you mentioned it, I would suggest to managers, if you're losing a lot of matches
by over 100 points,
contact one of us, hopefully Alex, and ask for a little assistance with at least hitting respectable range. Because
we also have this video called How to Win in the IWA, too. So
no one who pays money for this game should be losing by 100 points.
I agree.
Please contact us.
I agree. So there's this video called How to Win in the IWA that you probably should watch. After watching that video, if you have any more questions, please let us know. Although I'm probably the worst guy to ask about strategies because I do them at like 3:30 in the morning, and I don't track. And I sometimes remember to not pick holds that drops in other leagues, but who knows?
Whoops.
Every time I show Mr. Anderson my strats, he's like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
Like, are you sure that you don't want to pick the 25s? Yeah, I don't think they're gonna make it. Okay.
That 13 is due. I swear that 13 is due.
What's your last hold? 95. What? God, you found out the secret hold. The secret hold.
95.
Secret holes.
If I may get back on somewhat of the trail here, the Chaotix have actually never beat the regulators on pay-per-view. Just throwing that out there. There was a draw, and then the regulators beat the Chaotix. I mean, that was like 2 years ago, so a lot's happened since then. But it may be the Chaotix.
Have we confirmed this is a unification match?
Say what?
Have we confirmed that this is a unification match?
We have not yet confirmed that it is a unification match. I do believe that that's where this is going to be headed, but we have not confirmed that.
By the way, this match will be the main event of Wrestle Riot 6, by the way. We have no world title match, so... As Matt was saying before, we have a picture here from the Chameleon and the Christian Warrior and the American Patriot. I'm looking forward for their debut here in the IWL. I'd be remiss from not mentioning our good friend Big Bag Red Fox. Every time I say Red Fox,
it's a big one, it's a big one.
I think of Sanford and Son, but he's looking to team up with somebody and maybe get a 6-man going, and we'll see how it goes. That's pretty impressive. And I think, who's killing it this cycle once again is Neo Dragon. Neo Dragon Recently defeated Aliatari for the Grand Prix Championship. So, he's on top of the world right now. And I do like the little pictures, the little celebration here. We got there's Luther there. I see him. He's looking dapper, and then the white suit. A pre-burn victim, Tim Riggins, and then we have Obama, George Bush, and Bill Clinton. Shawn Michaels is in the background. And I see Stacy Keibler, and I don't know who's next to Stacy Keibler. Who is that? I'm not even sure.
Wait,
he's not a good-looking man though.
Let's flipping. Who's that's CM Punk.
Next to which I
that's
assume
a second
is be,
CM Punk.
Who I assume is supposed to be Samantha Soley, not Stacy Keibler.
There are 2 CM Punks on here.
I don't know. I think you're lying to me.
No, there is.
It's not CM Punk. It's Neo. It's Neo Dragon. You dummy.
I don't know. If that's Stacy
Keibler. Maybe it's CM Punk celebrating with Neo Dragon.
I believe you're right.
He is the champion of the 1%, by the way. But I think overall, the TT this cycle was fantastic, and I always got to get a nice giggle at the Fox Wrestling Scorch and the Hollywood Squares picture, taking the Revolution Extreme picture out, and some of the things that you need to know. Ratings down 36.3% since Math Club has returned. But they were able to calculate that drop off themselves. The world waits to see how long it takes TR3 to realize that TJ Relic left months ago. I think he finally figured that out. TL Magnum feud with the Gentleman's Club, mostly over the fact that it's not a strip club and he's disappointed, which is hilarious. Luther Alexander calls out the Scorch. The rest of the world's just surprised that he can read. Again, English is not his native language. What are you going to do?
I would just like to say that blood alone moves the wheel of history.
I don't know what that means. I think you're making stuff up again.
Never.
Okay. All right. So next up is the BRL Battle Royal League number 529. League champion, Money Driven Mike Sebastian. TV champion, Hot Stuff Adam Cash. Atlantic champion, Double R Rob Ratcliffe. Central champion, the Wild Card, Timmy Lane. Dixie champion, Jimmy North. Eastern champion, the Nasty Critter, Brian Rotten. Mountain champion, Chief Bold Gray Fox. Northern champion, the Vicious Vegan, Voldemort Vaughn. Pacific champion, Fatty the Butcher. Prairie champion, the Death Dealer, Stephen Andrews. Southern champion, the Zombie Hunter, Matthew Porter. Western champion, Wildfire Betty Red. Tag team champions, Colonel Dirk Vanderback and Sergeant Dagger Vanderback. TV tag team champions, Lord Regal and Martel the Model. Six-man champions is Regal, Martel, and Zolf Diggler. They won another 5 free matches, by the way. Six-man champions, the Renegade, Ricky Davis, Death Dealer, Stephen Andrews, and Arrogant, Eric Stickler. And your Battle Royal winner this cycle,
Death Dealer Stephen Andrews.
Yes, he wins $50 in IWA credit. So congratulations.
Ooh.
So Matt,
I thought that credit was supposed to dip.
Well, yeah, into my pocket.
Oh.
Well, not yet, actually, but, it's okay. Yeah, it hasn't dipped. I wonder why. Could be all the great players in the BRL. Ding. That was me giving a thumbs up to the camera. It's not working.
You've got the perfect face for radio.
That's right. So what's going on in the BRL? Well, we did have a IWA-wide regional winner in Wildfire Betty Red. We just had our Wrestle Rama pay-per-view, number 7, and the results have been posted. And I won't go through all of them right now, but it was a good show. The write-up is coming in this next issue. And I'm changing things up. I'm going to actually start the report with the pay-per-view, so hopefully it'll everyone right to speed. And a player recently asked me, mentioned in Q&A, is it better to use trash talk reacting to an event that you know the results of, or to pretend you don't know? I always lean on the side of write your TT as if you've already been to the event, unless you're writing it a precursor for some reason, just because it helps move timeline along in the game. BRL-wise, there's a ton going on. I want to thank Mike for doing the monthly or every cycle issue of Between the Ropes, which recaps all of the action in the BRL, kind of giving you a quick snapshot if you want to come into the league of what's going on. And there's a lot going on. We have the women's division, we have a Money in the Bank match, which reminds me, actually, the women's Money in the Bank match, I won't give away the result because it's in the pay-per-view, but it brings up an important point. So what I really like the idea of doing with the commissioner's titles was having them defended on the pay-per-views instead of kind of like, a TV show, then a pay-per-view, and going back and forth. So what I've done is I've reset the pay-per-view schedule a bit. I've added 2 pay-per-views. One is Money in the Bank, and that's going to happen in a few cycles. So what we're doing is every wrestler who's in the global division, which is sort of the top division of the 2 tiers, because that title champion can compete for the IWAR championship, even if they can't beat Graham Underwood. I took one wrestler from each player in the global division and put them in qualifying matches. So the next issue will list the qualifying matches. They will go head-to-head in the next bulletin, and those results will determine who goes on to be in the Money in the Bank match. The winner of the Money in the Bank briefcase will get a match contract. Now, it works just like the WWE one, really, but what you will do is, because we have a 3-cycle title defense system, it goes the same for the challenger. So if I'm sitting there with a briefcase, and I know the champion has, let's say, scored a 498, a 491, and I've had a score of 498 and 495, I could roll the dice and say, you know what, I want to cash in this for the next shot. So before the next cycle happens, you email me and say, hey, or message me and say, hey, I'm cashing it in. You have to cash it in before the cycle plays, and then we'll base the results off of those numbers. So that's the first pay-per-view change. The second is Magic Bash gets bumped back a little bit to the late summer. Automanarchy is still in the fall. Battlecade is still in December, but now we have a new pay-per-view being added, the Royal Rumble, which I know seems to make sense being the BRL. The way the Royal Rumble will work, there'll be 20 entries. To get an entry into the Royal Rumble, you have to win a Battle Royal in the BRL. So that puts pressure on the guy. All right, so that's going to leave spots. Now, if you have somebody win the Battle Royal multiple times, that's one thing. But there's a little asterisk. You have to trash talk. If you win the Battle Royal and don't trash talk, you'll be bumped out of the 20. And what's going to happen is there'll be 18 cycles in this year. So there'll be 2 extra spots if everyone TTs and stays active. So those 2 spots will be competed for in various ways. Later on in the year, we'll announce how you can compete for those spots. I got a few ideas. We'll see how they play out. But that'll make the Royal Rumble that much more prestigious. And when the Royal Rumble does happen, the winner of it will go on to WrestleRama and face the global champion in a triple threat match.
Nice.
So there it is. So that's sort of the BRL news of note. Trash talk-wise, a lot of good promos, lots and lots of trash talk. Some big additions, some new players came in, some new wrestlers. I think my piece of the moment was the Punk Rock Mike reveal that, in fact, Punk Rock Miguel was actually Punk Rock Mike, and that he was coming back to take on Ghostly Shadows at WrestleRama with all the fans behind him. So, Mr. G, what did you enjoy for trash talk in the Bureau this month?
I want to talk about Double R, Rob Ratcliffe. Now, he is making his debut here, and the BRL won the regional championship this cycle. So I'm really excited to see what this character goes from here. Don't forget that he's the world's greatest singer, world's greatest wrestler. He's Double R, Rob Ratcliffe. So I just feel like he's going to be hitting people with guitars all the time, and it's going to be awesome.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
And Mr. Anderson?
Well, to be fair, if I had gone first and not had what Alex referred to as the second helping, I probably would have also picked the Punk Rock Mike promo, just to be fair. Mm-hmm. But given that has already been taken, I would like to mention the debut of a group that also probably uses guitars that I was very intrigued by, the Golden Rock Super Friends. They appear to be a tag team coming from Japan. They seem like they want to rock and roll and have some fun. So we'll see how that works out. The BRL seems like it runs pretty serious. So maybe the Golden Rock Super Friends can lighten things up for us a bit. I'll be watching.
Next up is the CWL cycle number 231. The league champion Dan Maggots, TV champion Victor Von Schnapp, United States champion the Philosopher Elijah Davis, Yukon champion the Nightmare Johnny Carnage, Caribbean champion Derek Dark, Amazon Basin champion Sebastian Zabapowski, British Isles champion the Wrestler with No Name, Arabian champion Alabaster, South African champion Stylen Steven Solowski, Siberian champion Vincent Torrio, East Asian champion Matthew Zabapowski, Oceanic champion Timothy Zabapowski. The tag team champions are Billy and James Stone. TV tag team champions Tagaris Rex and Tagarato. We'll talk about them more later. Six-man champions, winning 5 free matches, Rab Fast, Fester, and Hester. TV six-man champions, Unleavened Bread, Alabaster, and the Wrestler with No Name. So, Mr. Anderson, it's going down. The CWL.
The proverbial answer of so much, too much to cover. We just had our pay-per-view Crossroads, so all the results of that should be in your next bulletin. If you would, here's how we're going to do the write-ups. I am going to just do a sentence or two in my report. If you would like to send me like the end of your match, I would be more than happy to include that. But to copy what I saw as the BRL model from the last couple pay-per-views, the majority of the match results are going to be in the bulletin submitted by managers. So if you need to get with another manager to make sure that the match goes down the way that you both want it, that's cool. Do that. You do not need to send it to me. Obviously, I'm more than happy to see it and include it in my one line or two. But I'm only going to put a line or two. So-and-so beat so-and-so. If you give me a little info, I can include that. The rest is included in your trash talk for this upcoming cycle. That said, pay-per-view. Awesome, big show, lots of matches. I'm already looking forward to the next pay-per-view. And we also have our Four Corners event. We have a few people who already submitted entries. That's awesome. The deadline is this upcoming cycle. So after this upcoming cycle, then we're going to go with the Battle Royal and give those people an opportunity to enter a second wrestler. So if you want in, your best bet is to enter this cycle by Tuesday. After Tuesday, it's going to go to the best finishers in the Battle Royal, and we're just going to click down the line until we get to 32 people. What else is going on the BRL? What else is going on CWL? We did have some changes to how I'm determining number one contenders. You'll see a good layout, hopefully. I mean, I've already written it up, so hopefully you'll agree it's a good layout for how the number one contender will be determined. Basically, instead of a tournament format, we're going to do kind of a the best ones remain format. So the top 20 strategies will stay, then the top 10 strategies will stay, et cetera, until we get a number one contender. That seems like that it will be more indicative of finding the person who has performed the best over the last 5 cycles. I think that's all the announcements. There are new champions, so check out the Facebook page. Check that out, or check in your bulletin. I won't go over all of that. I do a nice little results post. Check that out, please. So as far as everything else goes for TT, Mr. Riley, what did you have for the CWL?
Well, for the CWL, I will say that I enjoy myself a nice bit of TT. And I enjoyed Unleavened Bread. I mostly enjoy Unleavened Bread because I've known him for a while, and I enjoy the idea of a wrestler who's thematically tied to dough. But I also have to say, I'm excited because, to jump back to IWL for a moment, I thought that a wrestler who was in IWL had left. And in fact, he did not leave. He restarted his record because his real record is in the CWL, and I'm speaking about, of course, Big Bad Bob.
Yes!
Yeah, Big Bad Bob, we're excited to have you. We love the artwork. Just a tornado of hardcore.
Yes.
I'm not sure what the meow meow stuff on the other side of it is. So
I'm not
I'll
sure
walk away
either.
from that one. Oh, and also special shout out to my favorite insult of the issue was Ethereal Garbage Man. I enjoyed that line. You're a homeless guy with a mental illness. Fantastic work.
Hurtful. That sounds
Yes.
hurtful. The Offender, Alex, what did you have for trash
I
talk?
think that should be my official nickname.
The Offender?
Yes.
I believe, according to certain parties, we are the offended.
That's not true.
Although it is funny to me that people who say that others are offended are often the most offended by anything.
Well, they haven't seen me with my pants off, so
Oh boy, that's.
I mean, that's offensive to everyone.
they'd break hearts. Speaking of breaking hearts, I want to talk about a new manager who debuted in the CWL, Chris Goldblum, looking all types of sexy with his chest out. Bless his heart. He is down with the crew known as Dino Flex. So again, those dinosaur-themed wrestlers that won the titles before. Yeah, they're from Dino Flex, and they're awesome. I think Luther Alexander wants to join Dino Flex.
Who doesn't?
You didn't ask yourself the important question of not if you could join Dinoflex, but if you should.
It's true.
Life will find a way.
It will.
I will say it's like the group you never know you wanted. I need Dinoflex in my life, so I'm pretty excited.
By the way, in 1988, my dad had a Nordaflex or Nordatrack or one of those fucking things.
Yeah.
It was fucking ridiculous. It didn't last very long. He never really used it and it collected dust.
Nice.
That's my dad for you.
All right.
One time my dad was at a conference and he said he saw somebody that looked like somebody he knew and he wanted to punch him in the face.
Wow.
I'm like, I'm really glad you didn't, Dad. That would not be appropriate. So that's my family story for the day.
Allegedly.
So, sorry. For my trash talk, I think there were a few things. First, the Midnight Society implosion, and it looks like maybe Winston Smith and Aaron McFleece are going to allow the tension that has boiled over to
Sexual tension.
I mean, maybe. I don't think so. I mean, it's 2019, though, so no judgment. But I think the friction that's been going on.
Gross.
And it's only gross because you're, well, you know.
you know my feelings on the Midnight Society. Both of them, Winston Smith Jr. and Aaron McFleece, should get in a boat with a hole and drown. But that's my own personal feelings.
Is it? I mean, they did leave the IWL for this.
Not mad because they left. I'm mad because they always beat me.
In addition to that, maybe my favorite trash talk of the cycle, Mike Mason came out talking about how he destroyed Solomon Graham. He refuted what Big John Stone had to say. And then we are treated at the end to Luther Alexander and Lauren O'Dur coming out. And it appears that Mike Mason has officially rejoined forces with the villainous crew. So I am in shock and awe at the development and possibilities moving forward.
I'm just saying this. I want to say this out loud that Mike Mason was always the most dangerous member of Revolution Extreme. This motherfucker took a horse and chopped off its head and then hung it all types of ways in a stable. So
I have been on the Mike Mason train since I knew who Mike Mason was. So I am excited.
We're all excited.
So earlier, Unleavened Bread was mentioned. It appears that the Bone Cutters, I mean, we don't know for sure, but it certainly seems plausible that the Bone Cutters have attacked the team with no name. So I'll be interested to see where that goes. Kudos to Big Bad Bob, as aforementioned, for submitting his Happy New Year's drawing because, as he mentioned, it took him 2 hours, so he's submitting it anyway. Made me laugh. Well done.
That's some shit I would do. Like, fuck it.
It's like, I worked on it, so I'm putting it in.
I'm submitting it anyway. I do like the chainsaw and the broken light tubes and the razor and the barbed wire. I do dig it.
And then I feel like the insult of the cycle came from Dixon Ticonderoga when he called the Agents of Redemption Fading Star and Crumbleheart. I busted a gut. Fading Star and Crumbleheart, pretty creative. So kudos on that. And that's my review. Everybody does an excellent job. I could talk for 10 more minutes about it, but I'll spare you that. Kudos to everybody. You're amazing. You're doing fantastic stuff.
Fantastic. Next up is the NWL cycle number 128. The league champion winning 10 free matches, the American Patriot. TV champion, Dash DeLorean. Atlantic champion, Mike Sledgehammer Duggan. Central champion, Dirty David Trotter. Dixie champion, Power Style. Eastern champion, the Professor of Pain, Jason Curry. Mountain champion, Scuba Steve Butler. Northern champion, Marvelous Mark Clark. That rhymed. Pacific champion, the Outlaw John Nash. Prairie champion, Victor the Possessed Mezevov. Southern champion, JGC. Western champion, Dream Destroyer, Apollo's Pain. Tag team champions, the breathtaking Ashlyn Kelso and the Professor of Pain, Jason Curry. TV tag team champions, the Christian Warrior and American Patriot. Six-man tag team champions, the breathtaking Ashton Kelso, the Professor of Pain, Jason Curry, Cole Deadeye Tracker. TV six-man champions, Dax DeLorean, the Chameleon, and the Outlaw John Nash. So, Matt, what's going down in the NWL?
Oh, it's action-packed, fans.
86 pages worth.
Yes, which I will talk about Trash Talk in a moment after we finish the leagues, and I'll talk about it afterwards. But there's a lot going on. We have a huge pay-per-view getting revealed this coming cycle, and it has a lot going on in it. It's probably the most bonkers write-up I've done. It was a lot of fun. There was a lot of kind of last-minute switches and changes because of some things that happened with people leaving or other things going on. So I hope the players enjoy it. There was a snafu where the IWA doubled the BRL report and put it in both the BRL and the NWL. So if you were reading the NWL and you're like, why is the BRL report in here? And why is there Jim Spur and Bad Company and IHOP? So what we're doing this cycle is you're going to have kind of a larger than normal report. You're going to see it start with last cycle's front page report, the pay-per-view, so you have the results, the World Wide Classic, so you have the results. Actually, sorry, old first report, World Wide Classic, pay-per-view, Clash of Champions, and then the current report and all that goes with it. Excuse the snafu. Those things happen now and then. There's a lot going on, and I really appreciate that players are submitting lots and lots of trash talk. I will say two things. One, there was a minor dust-up. So it's been settled. I just want to kind of give everyone a heads up. In the future, if you want to submit trash talk and use another wrestler, all right, so you're using somebody else's wrestler in your trash talk, whether it be a sneak attack or, more importantly, if it's just them conversing, there was TT that was done to look like another wrestler's work as sort of a homage. And instead, it drew a complaint or two from somebody else. It wasn't the player who was being copied. It wasn't myself. I don't know who it came from or what.
It was a third party.
A third party that then the IWA emailed the player that they thought that the TT was about, thinking he submitted it, but he didn't. So he was like, "Whoa, I didn't submit this trash talk." So, long story short, we've solved it. It's been resolved. The player didn't mean to ruffle feathers the way he did with the comments in there. But the IWA has kind of come to this conclusion of, well, you know, we do our best to catch things as we can. Personally, I don't believe that.
That's lame. That's fucking lame.
To me, I played this game for fucking 20 plus years. And in the last few years, I've seen more shit get through. And mind you, I'm the guy that basically caused a lot of the censorship back in the early 90s. It was my fault. Because Scott Franklin and myself with Bad Company submitted promos so bad that Johnny would get mad about it. So we wrote it into the gimmick and had Bad Company beat him up at one point, which is why RC got suspended for life. But we had fun with it. and we understood and we tried to work around it. Every so often, I'll see a promo in the game with the little black scratch, which tells me somebody is paying attention somewhere. But I've seen bitch, fuck, ass, jizz, all kinds of things in there. I've seen near rapes. We actually talked about this on the show a few months ago, or maybe it was more than that, where a player tried to do this sneak attack and had the other wrestlers attacking cross-dressers and random, it was just really bizarre stuff. And we kind of were like, dude, there's a sneak attack, and then it's just just being provocative and not coming across the right way. And that player kind of, cleaned up their act, and that's fine. That's fine. People make mistakes, whatever. Part of the game is pushing that envelope. And when you cross that line sometimes, I know it sounds crazy, but this is a kid's game. And there are kids that play it. And some people actually had their mothers kick them out of leagues, Brad. But we won't name names, Brad, because that would be impolite, Brad, to mock a player who got kicked out of a league because his mother didn't like the trash talk and thought it was the devil's work, Brad. Anyways, my point being that, when it comes to trash talk, one part of it is making sure that it's to a certain standard. I'm not saying you have to write, gosh, golly, god darn it. I'm just saying be creative, be fun, but if your promos are all dick ass jokes, it gets old fast. That's why I didn't like the DXL. It was like a mama joke. And I was like, yep, that was fun. Okay, what else you got? No, nothing. Okay, bye. So really, what you bring to the table is really important. And it brings up kind of my second point. I'm just going to jump into it now. When it comes to trash talk, it's good to see trash talk. We want trash talk. But I also want to make sure players keep in mind that what you submit, if it's enormous, like I did a 2-page promo this month in the BRL for Jim Spur. And it was the culmination of a year-long arc. So it was the payoff. That's the third or fourth time I've ever done 2 pages. And I know some players have submitted a lot of big promos the last few months, and we've had some really big ones. It's not that we don't mind the TT. It's just I want you to keep in mind your audience and their attention span. Because I've had people say to me like, oh, there was I skipped over it. Like, we didn't read it? Nah, So keep in mind you have an audience that you got to keep their attention. So it's important, to go out and grab their attention, but don't just submit, sheer volume. Go for, the big 3. Who are you? What do you want? What are you going to do to get it? And if you answer those questions with your promo, whether it be a paragraph or 2 pages, if it's good, that's great. But if it's, not going to keep our interest, it's going to be harder for the people to sign on with that character and engage. And it brings up another important part. If you have multiple characters in the same league, I highly recommend using different fonts to give their kind of a personality, but also to break up the writing. Because if I see the same font over 6 pages, I'm probably going to skim over it and get back to reading it later because I got a lot of stuff to read with 4 leagues to look through. So, what do you guys have to say as far as it comes to trash talk?
Well, I want to make some points here, starting with the original topic regarding edgy TT, and no one knows edgy TT better than myself. I think there's 2 separate issues here, and I think they're separate. So I just want to make a point on each of them individually. Number one, looking at that TT, it's not bad in terms of the overall IWA because I literally went through all the bulletins this cycle and found 25 TTs that I would consider in worse taste or offensive or pushing the envelope to an extreme degree. I don't think this TT was one of them. The issue here was that someone went out of their way to complain about it. Was this the issue? And kind of the response that we got back from the IWA is like, yeah, no, we want you guys to push the envelope, but we have to address it if someone complains about it. And I think that's kind of like, if you're going to have these rules, if you're going to impose these rules, then number one, they have to be equal for everyone. And they have to be consistently enforced. Because if I see some crazy shit last cycle where someone is taking out my wrestlers and doing extreme stuff, and I respond in kind, but I get in trouble or I get yelled at or I get a nasty email, that's not fair. So I think there's a level of due diligence that the IW, they printed it. They should have caught it. If they had an issue about it, they should have caught it. Yeah, so like me personally, I'm kind of I roll my eyes at this a little bit in terms of the IWA's position here. not that I don't agree. Again, there's stuff that's done in poor taste. There's stuff that's done to push an envelope, but there's also stuff that's just erroneously offensive in every way. I don't think this is necessarily one of those things. Now, in terms of like edgy TT, you want to be smart about it. You want to allude, right? You want to, you don't have to beat someone over the head with a brick to get your point across. Like everyone likes the inside joke, right? Or everyone likes the innuendo, perhaps, that maybe it'll fly over some people's head, especially if they're 11, 12, 13 years old. Again, some of the players in the NWL are going to be around those ages. So you just got to keep that in mind and just be careful. But I want to see edgy TT, personally. I enjoy that. But I think there's a difference between edgy TT and the stuff they were doing in DXL. That's two completely different things. In addition to TT in general, now I personally have an appreciation for the more detail-oriented, well-written, in some cases longer TT, but that's not everybody. I'll read the whole thing and I'll enjoy it, and some people will just, they'll skim through a TT, they'll skim through the bulletin and the TT just looking for their name, right? And what I don't want, being a former NWL commissioner, is that, someone wrote 10 pages of trash talk and no one responded. That's super frustrating on the writer's part. And I don't want anyone to feel that frustrated or it was a waste of their time.
Right.
So that's something you want to be careful of. So, pick your spots, see anywhere that you can get your point across while, by cutting it down. Me personally, and I'm someone who used to write 3-4 pages of TT when I first started, and I've condensed it to a paragraph. And I think when I condensed it to a paragraph or two is when it became more effective. So just keep that in mind. I'm not saying anyone that, hey, listen, you can only write a paragraph or you can only write a page. Write what you want. You want to write 50 pages? Write 50 pages. But you got to understand that there may be a frustration factor after the fact, so if some players don't read it or some players don't respond to it. So just keep that in mind. It's just, advice. Mr. Anderson, do you have any thoughts?
I just want to mention that as far as inside jokes go, I hope to one day be a part of one.
You're an outside joke to the entire world, so.
Oh,
that's true. That's fair. It's a fair point. The only thing that I would add to that, and I think that those are all good points, the only thing that I would add to that is what I find compelling, trash talk that moves a larger story along, but gives us like a piece each time, right? So like a very good episodic show that you get something every cycle that keeps you interested, keeps you invested, but doesn't give away everything all at once, right? So that you want to know what's coming, what's going to happen next. What does this mean? Is this what I think it is, right? And so if you give away the whole season, it's like Netflix, right? I love Netflix. I love to binge watch. But if you watch 13 episodes in a day, there's not a lot of build up there. You just have done the whole thing, right? But if you have to wait, then you have some time to process and kind of look forward to the next chapter. So that's the only thing I would add.
I will now resume NWL stuff. I'll just say that we wanted to talk about some of those points because I think it's important. I do think what Alex brought up about the frustration factor, I've heard that many a time from people. And one aspect that I see a lot too is that players who see other players with massive TT or really, really sharp, well-written TT can be intimidated if they're not up to that level yet. And that's one thing to worry about too. Players will feel like, well, I can't TT with that guy. I'm going to write like 3 things and he's writing 4 pages. So keep in mind, do your best work, keep it fun, and let the chips fall in May. And if you don't get much response, cast a wider net. Things coming up in the NWL. We have the next clash, of course, after this one, but a few events coming up. One is the Rookie Brawl, which I'm going to announce officially next cycle. We're bringing it back in some form or fashion. One player was like, bring it back every month and give everyone a belt. I'm like, yeah, can't really do that. It's not that it's a bad idea, per se, to give away belts. It's just if you give away a belt every month, it loses a lot of luster if every rookie in the league has one. So there's that. We're going to create a special page in the NWL report that's going to become the NWL Hall of Fame. So what does that mean? That means we're going to go back and sort of wrestlers from each era that kind of stood out and give them a little nod. And it's going to be a way to, recognize some of the work of people that maybe didn't get enough in the game to earn a Hall of Fame entry, but made a big difference while they were in it. And I think it'll be a fun little exercise to kind of throw some love to the wrestlers as we unveil them over each issue. That'll be something fun to look into. Do we want to talk about the ARC yet, or do you want to wait on that?
We should do the NWL trash talk first.
Oh, all right. What did you see, Alex G, since you wanted to bring it up?
Well, I want to talk about my man, Monster Truck Tanaka.
Oh, what did you do now?
I love Monster Truck Tanaka. He might be my favorite wrestler currently in the NWL and the IWAR in general. And I'm just going to read it. Fuck it. I'm Monster Truck Tanaka, and it was a pretty rough cycle for me. Showtime Tommy Christopher does a lot of talking. He beat me fair and square. Doesn't mean I have to like it. Fans want a champion they can be proud of, not a guy who talks too much and is rude to Dick Jackson and a huge ass. If anyone needs someone to watch their back, just call me. I don't want any tag team partners because I've seen too many movies where the guy you think is your best friend turns out to be a secret Russian alien spy who blows up your house, wrecks your car, and tries to kill you. Not me. Now, if other people need me to make sure that kind of stuff doesn't happen to them, if other people need me to make sure that kind of stuff doesn't happen to you, I'm just going to warn everyone out there who's thinking of sneaking attacking me or anyone else. If you do, I got a monster jam for you.
I must have missed that. Oh, good stuff from Monster Truck Tanaka. Well, Mr. Anderson, what NWL TT stood out to you?
Of course, there was lots of good stuff, but something, when I saw it, just popped out at me. And I got to go with the amazing, colorful picture and message from Scuba Steve. The picture is incredible. It's on page 76. You need to see it. He's not here to waste anybody's time. He's here to swim through the competition. And I think my favorite part, besides the fact that Scuba Steve is like super jacked through this scuba outfit, is that there are 2 tattoos appear to be on top of his outfit.
I didn't notice that.
I don't know what about it. Just it warms my heart. This picture, I need it. I need a tattoo of this picture.
I think it's impressive he wrestles in mittens.
Yeah, no.
Oh, there's that.
Yeah, it's amazing. So I like it.
Nice. I appreciate that. And damn you, Scuba Steve. I was very happy to see Scuba Steve on the title page. I was a lot of TT to choose from. I'm a fan of the Tommy Christopher stuff. Dash DeLorean's almost like it's an embarrassment. It's just so fun to read. If you haven't, take a look at the NWL. There's a lot of good writing in there, and that's why I really enjoy it. That we have players that put a lot of passion into their writing, and there's also a lot of clever lines and humor. So it differentiates from certain wrestlers. And again, I would stress people try to start altering their fonts a little bit, as long as legible. Because nothing's less desirable to do than read hard-to-read TT. But, if you put that work in, part of the reward is the response you get. So hopefully we'll have a really good issue next cycle. We're looking forward to it. And next cycle is the final cycle for the Chameleon, the American Patriot, the Christian Warrior, Logan Kane, Dash DeLorean, and Penis, how do you say it? So looking forward to some really spectacular TT from those guys. The NWL has got a lot going on, and we say this every few months, like every 9 to 10 months when a group of guys are leaving. Who's going to take the torch up? Who's going to pick up the torch? And it's really been exceptional. So keep that work going. Remember who your audience is, and that each cycle you get new players who don't know who everyone is. So you might have to reintroduce yourself a little bit to the newer players arriving. Because as players leave and players come in, important to reestablish who you are to them. You don't have to do the whole way back when I was a kid, but it's good to let people know who you are if they're not familiar yet. So, All Rookie Cup is returning, and this is an event we do every year. It started in the BRL as a way to kind of spotlight rookies, And last year we had it as an IWAR-wide event. And we had Late Night Logan Kane actually won it. So this year it'll be comprised of all NWL wrestlers, but it'll get the main stage exposure. So this is sort of like NXT getting a chance to run their pay-per-view on WWE WrestleMania events, like a big time pay-per-view. Do you want to talk about some of the details, Mr. Anderson?
However much you want to say.
Oh, okay. Well, we can just tease it for now. This is, kind of a teaser. But this is going to be the equivalent of the, Bound for Glory Johnny B. Cup Summer Series. Like, this is the big event for the NWL. This is the event you want to win. And we're going to attach some fun prizes to it. And it's a great way to get some spotlight on some deserving rookies. And we have a really good class of rookies to be comprising this event. So more to come next time. Da-da-da-da-da-da.
All right, fantastic. So, Mr. Anderson, what do you got for us, IWAR wide?
IWAR wide. So we've got our two events that we're currently in the midst of. Well, besides the IWAR draft has reached its more than halfway point now. If I'm being honest, some wrestlers have really stepped up, and some wrestlers haven't. And hopefully the draft ends well. Kudos to all the wrestlers that are doing well and keeping with it.
Who's in the lead right now?
Well, the unofficial lead, Too Close to Call. That's my
is that
cop-out.
Too Cold Scorpio and
Too Cold Scorpio. There's underrated talent. The Johnny B. Cup started this past cycle. There were a number of wrestlers who received buys because I had to set up a bracket with 103 wrestlers. So obviously not everybody had to have a first round match. I will say I did my very best to make sure that if you entered 3 wrestlers, hopefully one of those wrestlers had a bye. If you entered 8 wrestlers, maybe 2 of those wrestlers had a bye. I really tried to even out so that everybody got a piece of some of that. So we are now down to our 64. There were a few wrestlers who were eliminated because they were inactive. Being inactive is going to auto-eliminate you. So obviously, for obvious reasons, you need to be active. We're not going to eliminate somebody who's an active wrestler for somebody who was inactive. But now we're down to 64. I will reiterate, we do have a kind of like what I call a wild card bracket that has the overflow from the BRL and the CWL. Whoever wins that bracket, say a BRL wrestler wins it, that wrestler will go against the BRL bracket winner, and then obviously the winner of that match will go on to the finals. If a CWL wrestler wins that bracket, they will go against the CWL bracket winner. So we don't want the finals to be 2 wrestlers from the same league, is essentially what I'm trying to avoid. So that's how that will go. The Murano will start this cycle. The brackets are in your bulletin. There is a small adjustment. 2 teams were one team was erroneously left out, and one team I'm allowing to be substituted. So there is, and the managers have been contacted. So Russian Roulette and the Suburban Hell Savages will not have a bye. They will face the New Brothers of Destruction and the team of Sax Gotha and Buddy Landell. So those 2 teams will be in there, even though they're not listed this cycle. So that's that. Speaking of events, though, we've kind of kicked around. I don't know, how much we want to say, but we've kicked around kind of the idea of whether or not to do the Summer Series again this year. I'm leaning right now towards doing it again with some adjustment. And so that would push our Bound for Glory back to the fall, about where it was last year. And I probably would not have Combustible Elements as an IWAR-wide event again then. So that's kind of what we're playing with looking forward, right? The All-Rookie Cup, the Summer Series, the 6-man tournament coming up probably about the same time as the Summer Series. So lots of things on the horizon, even as we go through these current events. Speaking of current events,
Yeah.
we finished up our title series, so hopefully you had the opportunity to see those results on the Facebook page in the upcoming matches, in the upcoming series, and in your bulletin, the mention of the other champions that will do battle starting this upcoming term or this upcoming 3 cycles. The BRL Unified Champion, Mr. Riley, do you know offhand who that is?
The Unified Champion is Jimmy North.
Nice. So Jimmy North, the CWL National Champion, lugubrious Lauren O'Dur, and the IWL Pan American Champion, Alex, you said that was
Robbie Blood.
Robbie Blood. So those 3 wrestlers will kind of have a preliminary series, and the wrestler among those 3 who has the best 3-cycle average will have an opportunity to be one of the potential challengers in the series after that. So they got to beat each other, and then they will be included as a possible contender. It's like winning a match to enter the contenders match, right? That makes sense?
Yeah, makes a lot of sense.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. So any of those other results, please check the Facebook page or your upcoming Ringside Magazine. Please read the Ringside Magazine. It's pretty good stuff, I think. May I get on my soapbox for a minute?
Yeah.
Okay. I feel like at the risk of being less courteous than I attempt to be in most cases, the IWAR has been, at least in my view, on more than one occasion, accused of not doing enough for the game at large. Not that the IWAR, has the requirement to do that, but since the IWAR tends to have some of the most active leagues, we have an awful lot of managers. I do have some agreement to the fact of the IWAR can be a benefit to the game at large. That part is true. So we have this look outside the IWAR, and I have yet to receive a page from any commissioner around the IWA trying to promote their event.
How dare you?
So the attempt is being made. Those of you who feel like the IWAR needs to do more, the attempt has been made to promote other leagues, and it hasn't happened yet. So whatever that's worth. That's my final note.
Why, that's just you and your IWAR conspiracy against the other game. Blah.
Fantastic. All right, guys, so we are officially out of time. So for Matt Riley, for Mr. Anderson,
I hope everybody has a really happy April Fool's Day.